everyone, welcome to Chalchitra Talks. My name is Vaani, and this week, instead of recommending to you a book, I want to talk to you about the author Khaled Hosseini. But before I get into this video, I want to talk to you about this app that we've been using quite recently. It's called Trell, and we have been experimenting as much as we can with our recommendations over there. It is a lifestyle app where you can post short format videos. It is a beautiful find if you want to discover more in terms of lifestyle, music, and so on. So do check us out on Trell. We are by the same name, Chalchitra Talks. Follow us and show us some love there. And we'll see you there with some recommendations. Coming back to the video, today I want to talk to you about Khaled Hosseini. And I'm certain a lot of you already know of him. He is a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador. He was born in Kabul but moved to America in 1980. Most of his novels are partially set in Afghanistan with an Afghan as the protagonist. And I hadn't read any of his works until a couple years ago when I picked up his Kite Runner. There was a book that I picked up when I was in school, Dear Zari, and this is a book that I had recommended in one of my initial episodes. The book has been written by Zarguna Kargar. I remember reading the book, which is a collection of 13 stories that are narrated by Afghani women and the struggles that they've faced. And I went back home crying to my mother because I was so glad and grateful for being born in my family instead of a family like the one mentioned in the book. There are certain books that break your bubble for you, drag you out of the ghetto that you've built around yourself or the ghetto that your family and all the dear ones have built around yourself, and Dear Zari was that one for me. And I think Dear Zari was either reviewed or the introductory part was written by Khaled Hosseini for this book. And I made up my mind to never pick up a Khaled Hosseini read ever in my life because I knew no matter what, I will not be able to survive through a Khaled Hosseini book. A friend of mine dragged me to a bookstore and made me buy The Kite Runner. And for 6 more months, I did not touch the book. When I finally did, I couldn't stop crying for a few days. I couldn't sleep for a few weeks. And I just couldn't get out of the universe of The Kite Runner. When I read Goodreads reviews, there were people who said, I enjoyed reading this book so much so. I loved reading it. This is such a beautiful book, which it is. But I just did not enjoy myself or did not enjoy reading the book. It was a struggle for me. I remember reading a few bits where I just couldn't read anymore because my eyes were filled with tears. And I'm pretty certain this must have happened to a lot of you. Khaled Hosseini has written a lot of books, The Kite Runner and The Mountains Echoed, 1,000 Splendid Suns and Sea Prayer. And every time I've tried to pick up one of his books, this certain fear of being dragged mercilessly out of your shell scares me so much so that I just cannot bring myself to read the book because I know it is going to break my heart for at least a few months. Khaled Hosseini writes bare, stripped down words for you. You connect to the protagonist, but there's also this fear of letting go because the entire story is so personal and it feels so real. The protagonist might just be fictional, but it brings an era to you that existed at some point in Afghanistan and is still very much relevant to the lives of so many people. The entire theme also of the books is sometimes remorseful, sometimes nostalgic, and like I've mentioned, I keep on going back to books that somehow revolve around families, and coincidentally all of Khaled Hosseini's books talk about family, motherhood, brotherhood, fatherhood. And the only book that I've been able to sit through properly was The Kite Runner. And I found this protagonist who is dying to go back to his motherland, smell the trees, sit under the shade of the pomegranate tree that he and his friend Hassan used to sit under. And the way Khaled Hosseini writes, you imagine the entire film in front of you, and it makes it all the more heart-wrenching. There was a line that I came across when I was reading The Kite Runner. I remember reading this and sinking into my chair. I want to tear myself from this place, from this reality, rise up like a cloud and float away, melt into this humid summer night and dissolve somewhere far over the hills. But I'm here. My legs, blocks of concrete. My lungs, empty of air. My throat, burning. There will be no floating away. And this is something that I really like about Khaled Hosseini's writings. A matter might be very complicated, but he'll make it so easy for you to understand and relate to. And this makes his books all the more special. When I was reading Dear Zari, a part of me just could not believe that a thing like this or instances like this actually happened in real life. And I read a couple more books post that, and I was heartbroken. For the longest time, I tried to avoid picking up books that have the same theme of atrocities, men being cruel to each other. And when my friend finally brought the book to me, The Kite Runner, I had to read it and to find characters who were as real as Amir and Hassan. It warms your heart for some time because you see the protagonists deal with something that is much larger than you or anything around you and much larger than them, struggle through it and lose a piece of them, but still persevere in the face of all the hardships that they are facing. And this is such a note to human resilience that it sometimes gives you hope. And this is something I've learned from Khaled Hosseini's writings. Sometimes the complicated emotions can be very easily conveyed through simple words. For example, when he points out to the heartbreaking winter when Hassan was raped, he says, I became what I am today at the age of 12 on a frigid, overcast day in the winter of 1975. I remember the precise moment, crouching behind a crumbling mud wall, peeking into the alley near the frozen creek. That was a long time ago, but it's wrong what they say about the past. I've learned about how you can bury it because the past claws its way out. Looking back now, I realize I have been peeking into that deserted alley for the last 26 years. So, for those of you who have not yet read anything by Khaled Hosseini, do pick him up and be aware that you will have a heartbreak which will not only feel real, but it will be so real. But pick him up anyway because he is going to teach you not only about war and the man made tragedies, but he will talk to you about the depth of human emotions, about how raw people can be, how war changes so many of us and displaces people and their emotions about their motherland. This was my recommendation to you for this week. I hope you pick up at least one book by Khaled Hosseini. For me, the first book was The Kite Runner. And for those of you who have already read his works, do revisit him. Before I leave, I want to tell you about this app that we've been using quite recently. It's Trell, and it is a beautiful lifestyle app that we have been quite active on recently. We post recommendations there that I think we would not otherwise on YouTube. We experiment a lot there, so do check us out on Trell. We are by the same name, Chalchitra Dogs, and do show us some love there. Vaibhav's networking course is also released quite recently, so do check it out. Show us some love. And Vaibhav has shared a lot of tips and tricks with you, and for those of you who do not know, I get to learn a lot from Vaibhav on an everyday basis and how to communicate and how to interact with people. And if you feel I make you comfortable around me, it's probably because I took the tips and tricks that Vaibhav has shared in his networking course quite seriously. And I'm pretty certain if you actually sign up for the course or if you actually take the course, you will not only get to learn how to build networks, but you will learn how to make people comfortable around you and how to strike up a conversation with any stranger. And what is more is that we are also interacting with you on regular live sessions. So do sign up for the course, and I will see you again next week with another recommendation.